Guys. I'm Andy, and I'll be talking about the toxic slash heroic masculinity article. Um, to be honest, I thought the article was so jumpy. I found it really over the place, and it didn't really make like a clear, concise message. What I got from it was that it was trying to stress that there's a difference between toxic masculinity and heroic masculinity, which is, I guess, a new term. Um, but I think that was honestly ridiculous. I find the article itself pointless, and I honestly think toxic masculinity versus heroic masculinity is two sides of the same coin. I think the urge slash encouragement of men and boys to be heroic, virtuoso, etc., is toxic in of itself. It just seems to be reiterating toxic masculinity in a more woke way. Does that make sense? Like, we know toxic masculinity is like violent behavior of men to assure their dominance, or like teaching boys to withhold emotions, certain emotions, and to express other certain emotions to assert masculinity. I find that with the article talking about heroic masculinity being, uh, I guess, willing to sacrifice yourself and uh, being more open minded, I guess, I don't really think that's an improvement at all from toxic masculinity. I do think expecting men to be willing to sacrifice themselves is part of toxic masculinity, and and yeah, I don't think the article was feminist. I don't think the term heroic masculinity is feminist. I would describe it, as I said earlier, a reiteration of toxic masculinity to be more woke or liberal. Yeah, I guess we've grown tired with toxic masculinity and are just trying to invoke it in some other, more, I don't know, leftist way, I suppose. Um, but the reason why I found the article so jumpy is because it talked about so many different things that I didn't really see a correlation with each other. I don't really see how Andrew Tate has anything to do with a guy tackling a shooter in a gay bar, and I don't see how that has anything to do with a police officer's opinion on children coping with uh, a school shooting, and I don't see how that correlates with books teaching boys about um, conquering and violence, and I don't see what that has to do with uh, girls wearing shirts that say "throw rocks at boys," or I don't know who else has read the article, but do you see what I mean? Like, I just don't see the correlation between any of that. I don't see how they relate to each other, and I don't see how those relate to the difference between heroic masculinity and toxic masculinity. I think it's an unreasonable expectation to expect men to put themselves uh, in harm's way. Uh, are you? The article didn't really imply that like we should expect women to do the same thing. It did mention that there were women involved in the 9/11 response, but the article was still perpetrating that heroic masculinity is expecting men to sacrifice themselves. And I found that a little sexist because the article did not talk about the same expectation of women. So, yeah, the article just did not. The article missed the mark, to be honest. And yeah, so that's my opinion. Um, I'm curious to hear what other people have to say about my opinion as well as the article. Okay, thanks. Good night.